Welcome back to Cinema Recaps. Spoilers ahead, so watch out and take care. The year is 2027, and after nearly 2 decades, humanity has been unable to reproduce and is now on the brink of extinction. This has caused society to collapse. The United Kingdom is one of the few countries still holding on to a functioning government, sparking a wave of refugees to illegally immigrate. The military has to patrol the streets, detaining immigrants for imprisonment or even execution. The story begins when our protagonist, Theo Farron, enters a bakery to buy coffee and hears the news on TV. The youngest person in the world has just passed away after years of struggling with fame. His age made him a target, and he was attacked by a fan for refusing to give an autograph. Everyone in the shop is devastated by this tragedy, but Theo doesn't seem to care. He leaves the bakery, stops a few steps away to add whiskey to his coffee, and suddenly the bakery explodes. There's screaming and alarms, but fortunately Theo isn't hurt. With his ears ringing, he continues to work as if nothing happened. In the office, almost no one is getting any work done. They're all busy mourning the world's youngest person. Theo seizes the opportunity, lies to his boss that he's upset about the news, and asks to work from home. On his way back, his train is repeatedly pelted with stones by rebels and locals. At the station, there are cages filled with refugees guarded by police officers. Still, this doesn't faze Theo. Outside the station, Theo meets his old friend Jasper Palmer. After a hug, they get into Jasper's car and drive to his countryside home, discussing the bakery explosion along the way. They suspect it might have been a government-planted bomb. On the road, they see a bus taking refugees to a detention camp in Bexhill. Jasper's home is hidden deep in the woods, so hidden that they have to stop the car to clear some decoy branches. Jasper jokes about Theo's lack of a love life and his alcohol habit, even offering him a place to stay. But Theo declines. Inside the house, through photos and newspaper clippings, we learn that Jasper used to be a political cartoonist, and his wife, Janice, was a photojournalist. Now, however, Jasper has become a hippie and a pot dealer, while Janice is in a catatonic state after being tortured. There are also old pictures of Theo with a woman and a little boy. After saying hello to Janice, Theo and Jasper sit on the couch, smoking and chatting about various topics. Jasper mentions that his main customer is an immigration officer at the Bexhill camp, and they argue about the potential existence of the Human Project, a secret scientific organization with hidden facilities aiming to cure humanity's infertility crisis. The next day, Theo returns to his own home, and as he leaves for work, he's kidnapped by an armed group called the Fishes. Blindfolded, they take him into a van and only uncover his face once they're in fish territory. When Theo opens his eyes, he finds himself in a secured room, and for the first time in years, he sees his ex-wife, Julian Taylor. Julian apologizes for the theatrics, explaining it was necessary to avoid the police as she remains wanted from their activist days. After clarifying that they weren't responsible for the bakery bombing, Julian takes Theo outside for a walk and reveals that she needs him to get transit papers for a refugee girl to reach the coast, a task Theo can manage through his cousin. Theo refuses, and when Julian offers to pay, he lies, saying he doesn't need her money. Since he won't cooperate, Julian has her people cover his face again and take him out. On the way, one of the fishes warns Theo that this never happened and that they'll always be watching him. Another gives him a paper with a symbol to hang on the tube if he changes his mind. They then release Theo in the middle of the street, giving him some change for the bus. Sometime later, it seems Theo has reconsidered because he visits his cousin Nigel, a minister. A fancy car with a private driver picks him up and takes him to Nigel's private residence, where he preserves classic works of art, like Michelangelo's David, though it's missing a piece of its leg. After a hug, they have lunch together with the minister's son, who ignores them entirely while playing on a screen connected directly to his body. After asking about Nigel's wife, Theo brings up the need for transit papers, fabricating a story that they're for his girlfriend so she can visit her very ill brother in Brighton. Nigel realized this was a great favor because documents were strictly controlled. After shouting at his son to take his medication, Nigel leads Theo to the window and says he'll see what he can do. Theo questions why Nigel preserves these works of art, given that in 100 years, there may be no one left to view them. Nigel responds that he simply doesn't think about it. Hours later, Theo's at a pub when he's approached by Luke, a member of the Fishes, who saw Theo's posted sign. Theo explains that he got the papers, but since they're joint, he'll have to escort the girl himself. He agrees to do it for additional pay. Luke accepts, as Julian has great trust in Theo. The next day, another member of the Fishes approaches Theo as he's betting on dog races. A woman shows him the same symbol he used the day before. He follows her outside and boards a bus where Julian is waiting. She asks about the papers before reminiscing about old times, but they soon argue over how they handled the death of their son, Dylan, and their eventual separation. When they reach their stop, they hurriedly get off the bus, and Theo takes the chance to ask why he was chosen. Julian tells him she trusts him. He also asks what will happen to them, and Julian replies that she doesn't know before giving him a gentle kiss. She says he only came for the money. After crossing a bridge, they go down under it to meet Luke. Luke explains that they'll take Theo to the first checkpoint in Canterbury. They get into a car where Theo is introduced to a woman named Miriam, and the young girl he'll be escorting, Key. They start driving toward Canterbury. Theo falls asleep at the beginning of the trip, but when he wakes up later, he and Julian reminisce about their old days as activists, even playing a little game with a golf ball. Just as they're about to reach their destination, an armed gang ambushes them, and Julian is shot. They manage to escape from the gang, but moments later, the police arrive and begin a chase. Luke has no choice but to stop the car, and when he gets out, he shoots both officers before quickly getting back in and speeding away. They stop to say goodbye to Julian. The two women cover her body with a shawl and pray, while Theo pretends to be unaffected. Only after distancing himself from the group does he allow himself to cry. But it doesn't last long, as Luke urges them back into the car to leave before being discovered. At nightfall, they reach a safe house of the Fishes, where the group gathers to vote for their new leader. Theo asks if he can get a ride back to London, but he's told it's too risky and he'll have to wait until the next day. Instead, they offer him a shower and clean clothes. After cleaning up, Theo briefly chats with a member of the Fishes before Miriam finds him and takes him to see Key. She brings him to a barn while the group votes for Luke as their new leader. Inside the barn, Theo is left alone with Key, who tells him Julian spoke of their child and, if things got dangerous, that he was the only one she could trust to get her to the boat called Tomorrow. Theo tries to distance himself, but Key persuades him by revealing her secret. She's pregnant. Theo is shocked, hardly believing what he sees. But their moment is interrupted by Luke, who takes them back to the house. They watch the news, where Julian's body has been found, and the authorities are now looking for the people who were with her. It's believed they'll be identified soon. A heated debate erupts among the Fishes about what to do with Key. The Fishes don't want to go public with her because they fear the government will take her baby. But Theo insists she needs proper care. The Fishes don't want to go public with her because they fear the government will take her baby. But Theo insists she needs proper care. If they don't go meet the boat, Luke decides Key should stay and have her baby in the safe house, but she remains determined to reach the Tomorrow after her child is born. Later that night, Theo, unable to sleep, overhears suspicious sounds outside. He sneaks around and realizes the attackers from earlier have arrived. It was all part of Luke's plan to seize control and use Key's baby as a political tool for their revolution. Theo decides he can't let this happen. He rushes to Key and Miriam's room to warn them, and they sneak out to escape. Dodging guards, they approach each car carefully, disabling two before entering the third, but it won't start. Theo gets out to push the car, drawing the attention of the Fishes. He gets back in, though it still won't start, but at least it's rolling downhill. The pursuers aren't allowed to shoot because Key is in the car, so they try to grab them through the windows, but Theo and Miriam push them away. The car stops midway down the hill, so Theo gets out to push it again, and one of the Fishes catches up, aiming a gun at him. Theo knocks him off by slamming the car door into him. At the bottom of the hill, the car gets stuck in the mud, so Theo keeps pushing while Miriam tries to start it. After a few tries, the car finally roars to life, and Theo has to run to jump back in. Miriam stops to let him in, and they finally escape the farm. Theo tells Miriam he knows a safe place to hide, and takes them to Jasper's house, where they are warmly welcomed. During dinner, they discuss their options. The Human Project's ship will have 2 stops, but both are risky. Winsmore is too far for them to make it in time, and Bexhill is a refugee camp. Jasper believes this is their solution and tells them to eat while he prepares some things. The next morning, Miriam is outside practicing the yoga while Key braids Janice's hair. Theo approaches Key, asking about the pregnancy, and learns that she's 8 months along but doesn't know who the father is. Just then, Jasper returns with a plan. The group can enter Bexhill camp and meet Jasper's cop contact, who will smuggle them in to reach the ship. They agree to the plan. That night, Theo sits drinking. He hears the others sharing a cigarette and chatting. Jasper tells the women about how Theo and Julian met at a rally and how their relationship took a turn for the worse when they lost their child to a flu pandemic. Unable to listen anymore, Theo leaves the conversation and goes to bed. The next morning, everyone is awakened by the alarm. The fishes have found them. Jasper gives instructions on how to contact him and tells Theo to get the girls into the car, refusing to go with them, saying he's gotten out of worse situations. Theo drives off but stops to watch the house from afar. The fishes arrive and, unhappy with Jasper's answers, shoot him. Theo doesn't tell Key, only saying that everything is fine before driving away for good. The next day, they reach the meeting point, a deserted school. While Key enjoys the swing set, Miriam tells Theo about her work as a midwife and how infertility gradually affected all her patients. Then a truck arrives. It's Sid, their contact. After exchanging the password, Sid lets them into the truck and drives to the refugee camp. Key has her first contraction on the way, and they tell Sid it's just car sickness. When they reach Bexhill, Sid tells them to put on sad refugee faces before moving them from the truck to a bus full of refugees. On the way, Key's contractions worsen, and by the time they reach the actual camp, her water breaks. A guard notices Key's distress, so Miriam distracts him by pretending to have a religious mania episode, getting taken away for execution. When the guard tries to take Key too, Theo points to the liquid between her legs and claims it's urine and excrement, successfully making him leave. Theo and Key exit the bus and join a line where Theo briefly loses Key when a guard tells him to remove his cloak, but they soon reunite when the line is released to the city, now turned into a refugee camp. Here they find a Romanian woman named Marichka, who leads them to a safe, abandoned building and provides a private room for Key to give birth. Labor is hard on Key, but Theo guides her, and she finally delivers a healthy baby girl. The next day, Sid arrives to check on them. The city has become a dangerous mess after a wall was breached and people started fleeing. Sid arrives to help them escape. When he sees the baby, he promises to take them to a boat, but Marichka is against the idea, implying he's not trustworthy. Sid then pulls out a gun, revealing he knows there's a bounty on them and plans to collect it on their way down. Marichka pushes Sid away, and Theo jumps on him to push him off Key. After Marichka hits Sid with a stick, the three of them start running, with Sid chasing after them. They go down a hallway and reach the street, where Sid gets stuck in a door, and Theo finishes him off with a brick to the head. Theo asks Marichka about the boat, and after a brief moment of confusion, she catches on and starts guiding them to it. In the middle of the fighting between the military and the fishes, she leads them into a building. After showing the baby to the building owner through a window, they're allowed into a nice apartment. There, they eat, rest, and Theo gets a better pair of shoes. While two elderly women play with the baby, a guard tells them they have to leave in an hour. When the time comes, they put Key in a wheelchair and leave the building. They run again and are soon found by Luke and the fishes. Luke takes Key and the baby, leaving the others to shoot Theo and Marichka. They're about to be shot when more military forces arrive, giving Theo and Marichka a chance to escape and search for Key. Theo gets separated from Marichka, but he keeps going, dodging soldiers and the fishes until he makes it into a building amidst heavy gunfire. After climbing several stairs, he finally finds Key and the baby near Luke, who is trying to convince them of his cause. A bomb goes off in the building, ending Luke's life. Theo quickly leads Key and the baby out, unhindered, as everyone is awestruck by the baby's presence. The refugees reach out to touch them as if seeing a miracle, and even the fishes let them pass. When soldiers enter, they also see the baby and immediately call for a ceasefire to let them through. As they walk out, everyone outside stares in shock, but the firing resumes once they're far enough. They quickly return to the building entrance where they were captured before and reunite with Marichka, who finally leads them to an underground passage where the boat is waiting. Marichka refuses to join and pushes the boat into the sea, sending them off. Theo rows until they reach their buoy meeting point. While waiting, Key notices blood on the boat, and Theo tells her it's his. He was shot, but is okay. When the baby cries, Theo shows Key how to burp her. Moments later, Thaiba loses consciousness, possibly passing away, just as the Tomorrow arrives to take Key and baby Dylan to safety. Moments later, Thaiba loses consciousness, possibly passing away, just as the tomorrow arrives to take Key and baby Dylan to safety. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications to watch more videos like this. Thank you for watching.